Hi, everyone. Welcome to A Word with Kellie Scott Reed. We're here with Elias Kerr, who is the writer of Trans Reincarnation, a new book from Mason Jar Press. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Kelly.
Absolutely. I'm excited to meet you. We've been trying to do this for a while. Could you tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
So I am a transmasculine poet. I am 23 years old and I live in Scranton, Pennsylvania. I'm originally from Massachusetts, but I go to school at the University of Scranton for a master's in occupational therapy. And I have double minors in English and creative writing. And so I do a lot of writing and also I'm working towards becoming an occupational therapist as well.
That's awesome. So, Scrantonicity, we're kind of close.
Yeah.
We're up in Western New York. We're not too far away from each other. We'll have to do a rough and yaw road trip and get with people that we know in Pennsylvania and Mass. So first thing being first, your book, is it out currently or is it coming out?
Yeah, so it was released April 18th
Got it. And where can we find it?
on the Mason Jar Press website.
Tell us a little bit about how you came to write it and what the general vibe is of this book that you've just done.
So I've been working on it for about 2 or 3 years now, inside and out of the classroom during my undergrad. I worked with a mentor who was one of my professors on some of the poems in there, and then also just some writing that I've been doing for the past 2 or 3 years. And it all kind of came together under this theme of trans existence, trans joy, but also trauma from being a trans person in this world today. And so all the poems kind of center around that theme, and there's a lot of religious imagery related and some stories about like family and all kind of just connected together.
Yeah, I had read that you're exploring the question, how can literary arts explore identity and represent identity?
Yeah.
That to me, it's so timely. Our press is currently working on a anthology to benefit the Trevor Project, just for that very reason. Today, there's this negativity and buildup. Do you find when you write that you are finding it healing? Is it something that you do for your own health?
Yeah, I think it's been very helpful and healing for me personally, but I think it can also help other people. I know that when I read books by other trans poets, I feel like I'm more involved in a community and I'm not alone. And so I think that's really what I wanted the work to stand as, something for people to pick up and not feel so alone.
Has there been a book or a writer in your world that has inspired you to write? Was there a particular moment where you felt that writing was where you wanted to take your life in
Yeah,
some
so there's
form?
been two people who've been really influential. One is my professor, Dr. Billy Tadros, and she has a few books out, and she's just been like my favorite person to go to with poems, with life things, and she's been very influential in my education. And she also introduced me to another writer, Kayla Bray, who's a pretty well-known trans poet, and she actually gave me one of their books while I was recovering from top surgery, and so that's like kind of where I made that connection, and I actually got to they came to campus and we became friends, and now they're kind of also a mentor to me as well.
That's really amazing. That's so
Yeah.
cool. I've noticed about the writing community, the generosity amongst individuals in the writing community to help bolster and promote the voices of other writers. And that's really great to hear. Also, professors, obviously,
Yeah.
teachers are amazing. Um, what is a common trap for you as an aspiring writer? I shouldn't assume that you're aspiring to be a writer. You obviously want to be an occupational therapist, but as a writer that wants the word out, that wants to make a difference, which it sounds like you do, what is a common trap you fall in that takes you away from that?
I think finding the time and the balance between finishing my degree and also pursuing writing, because it does take a lot of time, and being a master's student is a lot of work as well. And so trying to figure out the balance and like how I'm going to both experience the world as an OT as well as experience the world as a writer, especially in the upcoming future when I finish my degree in like 6 months. I have no idea what I'm going to do from there. And I think I want to go back to school to be a writer, and go to master's or PhD programs. But at the same time, like I just got this degree that I've worked for 5 years. So it's like I'm trying to balance the two.
I'm kind of always feel like I'm on fire to do something. Like I can never just I did this a similar thing. I was a creative writing major in college, but wound up going into human resources. So my writing kind of went on the back burner. And I remember just trying, I want to do both. I want to have both in balance. What's cool about what I think you're doing, the occupational therapy is a therapy. It is a obviously something that people need who are not who need a compassionate person. And I think that your writing reveals compassion.
Yeah.
So I think it probably comes naturally. You might find it I'm giving you motherly advice. I'm sorry. I get with younger folks and I'm like, oh, let me just tell you. But I think that um, you will find that balance. I really think so. Just because you're in that helping and that compassionate occupation.
Yeah.
So I think that that's interesting. Um, what does literary success look like to you?
Um, I think I'm still trying to find the definition for that because like this is my first book out, but I have so many more that I want to publish and so many more things I want to do and experience, like workshops and programs. So I think just being able to experience as much as I can, regardless of the outcome of if it's successful or not, I just want to be able to experience it and keep creating things.
Yeah, it's funny. That's great about experiencing. I think a good way to look at the creative process of writing is, sorry, I got bugs everywhere. The experience of both the experience of writing and the experience of re-experiencing your experience through writing. I know it's like a
Yeah,
mirror and a mirror and a mirror. Do you find when you write that you're drawing on your own experiences more, or the experiences you observe in the world? Do you have, or is it more of a balance?
I think it's mostly drawing from past experiences. I do a lot of work with PTSD and trauma in my writing, because that's what I've dealt with a lot, especially regarding gender and sexuality. But I think that a lot of the experiences that I've had personally can be things that other people experience, especially trans people. And so it kind of becomes this like universal collection of words that people can relate to because they've had similar experiences.
Mhm. When working with editors, so as someone who does editing, I try to, especially with poetry, I like hands off. Poetry is, a typo, like a misspelled word where I knew someone meant there or IE or EIR instead of they are. That's what I edit. Do you find um, that you're a good self editor? So when it goes to press, that it's not so much, or or are you someone who has you love all your babies the same? Like they're all wonderful, and you need a heavier hand to tell you to weed out what you have.
I used to really hate editing and really struggle with it. But over the years, I've been working with my professor and other mentors. Like I learned how to edit and how it can be really fun to look at something you made and then make changes to it. So it's like even better. And so I found that I really do enjoy editing now. It's just the process of sitting down and doing it can sometimes be difficult to get myself to do, especially with such formal poetry, because I do a lot with form now. I used to
Okay.
just write free verse. Now I'm like, I love playing with form. And so sitting down sometimes can be a big headache, but at the same time, it ends up being worth it in the end. So,
And what is the most difficult part of your process?
um, it's probably the editing process with formal poetry because I
Mhm.
want things to be so meaningful. I want every word to have a meaning, every line break. And sometimes it just does not go that way. And I have to scrap the whole thing and restart.
That's like torture for me. I save every scrap like it's the most, and they're terrible. I'll go read back on stuff I wrote when I was in my teens or 20s, and I'm like, oh, what was that? Oh, it's too funny. And I will never get rid of it. I have boxes like, oh,
Yeah.
that's so cool. When did you realize in your life that language had power for you?
When I was a kid, I used to do a lot of writing for fun. Like I always wanted to write like a novel or a fiction book. And then I actually started writing poetry in high school. And that kind of became like my favorite thing to do is just write poetry. And I would just sit in my room sometimes and just write. And it really helped me with a lot of stuff that was going on at home, a lot of stuff that was going on internally as well. And especially when I got to college, like writing was my escape, and it still is today. It's where I find the most peace.
One of my questions is going to be, does writing energize or drain you? So it's an energizing process for you?
It's both. It's definitely
Okay.
both. The process of writing is very energizing when you have like a piece in front of you and you're like, I just did this. But at the same time, you're looking back at the hours you spent on it and you're like, I just did this. I need to take a break.
How long did it take you to get your collection together?
I think 3 years total. Some of the pieces are around 3 years old, and then some of them are more like a few months old. So it really is just like a whole range.
Is there a particular author or writer that when you were younger and just starting that really sparked your imagination?
I can't really think of a particular one, but a lot of the pieces that I would read in high school, they weren't like too challenging, but at the same time, they did have a lot of formal play in them. And it just really made me think like, this is so interesting, like what they're trying to do here with the words and how they're trying to make it like almost a map or a puzzle.
I'll refer you to Katie Naylor's, I think it's Void Space. Void. I will get it to you, but it's
Okay.
all based on form. It's incredibly cool stuff. And if you're playing around with that, that might be a magazine. I'll make sure I email that to you.
Yeah.
Hold on, I'm going to write this down because I want to email you and get you there because I used to like E. E. Cummings back when I was young. I think everybody starts with the E. E. Cummings thing because it's so unusual when you read it in class when you're in high school. You're like, this
Yeah.
is all playing with words, capitalization, punctuation. But yeah, I'm gonna make sure that I get that Katie Naylor's magazine. Her it's online, but it's all form, poetry that's blacked out in a
Yeah.
maze. It's fantastic stuff. It's stuff I have very little ability to do. It's just I have no ability to do it. I've tried. It's just not I but if I love it when people have that mind where they can make sculptures out of
Yeah.
words.
And I do a
I love
lot of
that.
work with visual stuff as well. Like a lot of my poetry in high school and even early college was I'd write a poem and then I would put it on a notebook page and do a visual art component with it as well. Because I love to draw, I love to paint, I love collaging. And
Mm.
so I like the combination of what you can see versus what you read and how that interacts, because I think it makes it such a more sensory experience.
And that's the key. It's like the sensory element to it. Um, I appreciate because I love to read it.
Yeah.
It's hard for me. I don't even know how to say it. It's just hard. My mind doesn't see things that way. It's why it's so amazing. It's like magic eye to me. Like I
Yeah.
have to relax my rigidity in order to open up that part of me. And I just haven't found the way yet. I'm gonna keep
Yeah.
trying. I'm gonna keep trying. So I want to make sure that we end our interview with information on how people can purchase you said how they could purchase the book, but again, tail ending it, how they can reach you, any websites, just kind of a plug for your work.
Yeah, so I have a website that I made a few months ago. I think it's Kerr Poetry or something. I
Mm-hmm.
think if you just type that in, you'll be able to get to it. And then Mason Jar Press has the book and also like some bio information on me. Think there might be an email, some social media.
I'll make sure I put it in when we do put the video up on YouTube. I'll let you know. And I will also fill that information in for you so people can get a hold of your work. Thank
Okay,
you so much for coming on and talking with me. This has been awesome. Finally. Thank you so much, Elias.
thank you for having me.